All right. Good morning, everybody. Today is Daf Chafei.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Morning. So we were discussing yesterday rumors, and we had Rav Shita was that we don't necessarily follow the rumors. We don't make a woman leave her husband because of rumors. Only Daf go with witnesses, but not rumors. And Rebbe held that no. Rebbe says that if something's fishy, right? He ruled in a case of where somebody returns home or whatever, and they see the local salesman. They see him leaving a woman's house, and she's fixing her skirt or shoes in the wrong place, so on and so forth. So Rebbe says in such a case that you have to go ahead and he has to divorce her. So the Gemara says we're right after the parentheses on the fifth line on top of Chaf Hey Amud Aleph, and the way we go. The Hilchasa Kavase the Rav, the halacha is like Rav that we ignore rumors. We don't necessarily make a woman divorce. The halacha is like Kavase the Rabbi. The halacha is like Rabbi that we do listen to rumors. We do say, hey, this person should go ahead and go out. So Gemara says, so it seems like a contradiction, right? They're arguing, and how we should. Gemara says, no, like kasha. One is a case of where the rumor stops. The rumor basically started and stopped. So therefore, in such a case, the rumors are not strong, and therefore one can go ahead and remain his wife. The other case is it's talking about a kol d'lo pasik. And where the rumors did not cease, it's called the pasik for like Aiden Karebi. In a case where it did not, the rumor did not stop, right? And even there's no witnesses, then the halacha is like Rebbe, and called the pasik. How in the case of where there was a rumor, right? There was, but it stopped. Vika Adim, and only if there are witnesses there, then Karav, then we hold like Rav, because then we said that she has to leave her husband. Otherwise, she could remain if there's no witnesses. The Kodula Pasik Akam. How long is a rumor that doesn't stop? Summer Abai says Abai Amliye. I was told by my mother, or the one who told me, right, the one who raised me, Duma Damasya Yaimu Palga. Right? It appears that it's referring to a case of just a day and a half. Just a day and a half is the amount of rumors, right? That's the amount of rumors.
That's a rumor so kayaman.
That's a rumor that the Loi Pasik that didn't stop. But if it's talking about a day and a half, then there's Raglayim Ladavar. Then there's reason to believe. There's only if it didn't stop, within that day and a half, it stopped and started. But if it did stop at some point, then it's considered to be stopped. And also, if it stopped, but only if it stopped, it's rumors are about a guy who's the mafia guy, right? And people were scared of him. But if it doesn't stop because of machmasira, right? That's only because of fear, but really the rumor probably is true. And also is only talking about if the guy didn't have enemies, if he didn't have haters. But if he does have haters and enemies, his enemies basically spreading this rumor about him. Fine. Tanan also, third of the way down. One who goes ahead and he divorces his wife because of a shemra, right? There's rumors about his wife, and therefore he divorces her. Lo yachzer, should not go ahead and take her back. Mishum neder. If one divorces his wife because of a neder, she made a certain neder, she's not going to do certain things that she's required to do at home, right? And he doesn't want to stay with her because she has this neder. Lo yachzer. Also, he cannot go ahead and take her back. He divorces her for that reason. So Shalach le Rabbar Huna le Rabbar Nachman Yibudina Rabbeinu Kanas Ma'ashu Yaitzi. Well, what is the halacha there? So we said, okay, if he divorced her because there was rumors out, he took her back, or she had a neder, right? And then he took her back later on. So what is the halacha if he does go ahead and remarry her? Ma'ashu Yaitzi, does he have to divorce her? So he says, Tanina, let's take a look at our Mishnah. If there are rumors about a person with the and then she divorces her husband because there's rumors with her, and then she went with the guy that she was rumors with. Yaitzi, even if she marries that guy, Yaitzi, she has to divorce him. So you see, for rumors, you have to divorce in our Mishnah. So over here, also, maybe if there's rumors about her that she committed adultery and he divorced her for that reason, and he takes her back, so then he has to divorce her again. We force him. Samarlei, mi dummy. How can he get rid of the two? Hasam hotzia. First of all, over there, we're talking about where there were witnesses. There were witnesses in our Mishnah, right, that said that she was Mizana, right, as an Ashes Ish, and therefore she's Asur Labal, and that's the reason why she had the divorce. In our case, right, he just happened to divorce her. We didn't force the husband to divorce her, so if he takes her back, it's not a big deal. Rabbi Chana, Masnisa Nami, Hotzia Tanan. So according to Rabbi Chana, Rabbi Bar of Nachman, Masnisa Nami Hotzia. Maybe the Mishnah is talking about our Mishnah, right? We had two different pshatim in our Mishnah. Maybe it goes to the other pshat that says that not that there were witnesses there and that we forced him to divorce her, but rather that he happened to divorce her, right? He happened to divorce her, and then the man, because he didn't like what was going on, he didn't like the rumors, but there were no witnesses there, and then she went on to marry that guy who there were rumors her with, right? So then we forced him to leave her, right? The second guy. So maybe our Mishnah deal with that case, and therefore both Torah cases where there wasn't a forced divorce, and maybe it's the same case. In both cases, in our Mishnah it says he has to divorce her, right? So over here, if the husband takes her back, he has to divorce her because he wasn't supposed to marry her in the first place. So avakatimi dami, who says similar? Over here, let's think about it. There are rumors about her with another man. So the husband divorced her, and then he took her back. So it wasn't because that, he was the Baal. In other words, this basically sort of disproves the rumor, because if he remarries her, it must have been that the rumors were false when they were married. But over there in our Mishnah, we're talking about there are rumors with this person that she married after her first marriage. So therefore, that's the reason why because that reinforces the rumor, right? If there was rumors about her with Bob, right? And then she divorced her husband and they got married to Bob. So it only reinforces the rumors that she was Mizanas and Esajish. So therefore, Bob has to divorce her. But in our case, the husband divorced her and he was married to her and there was rumors about her with Bob, right? And then he wanted to take her back. She never married Bob. He wanted to take her back. So this disproves the rumor. Similarly, no, maybe it's a good comparison. I understand still, both cases have a status of lo yichnos, do not marry. So when the Mishnah says do not marry, and he marries her, we force him to divorce her. So why is this any different? If the Baal wants to go ahead and remarry his wife, he's not allowed, he's not supposed to. So if he does, we should force him to leave. However, and still the Gemara says it's not a good comparison. Over there, when she goes ahead and marries the guy who there's rumors about her, it reinforces the rumor. Right? If she goes out and marries Bob, and there are witnesses, right. there are rumors about her and Bob, it reinforces that. That's why we forced it. However, over here, right over here, the reason why the husband took her back is because he divorced her, and he looked into the matter, right? And he decided it was false, and then he went back to her. So therefore, it fights against the rumor, and therefore he should be allowed to go ahead and stay with her.
Never brings if the wife denies this. If she denies this, you should listen to her.
So she denies, yeah. So in this case, she denies if she would admit it.
She doesn't have anything with Bob, and she's just in a frozen phase, if you will. Obviously.
So then, no, but the Gemara is assuming that she didn't. If she admitted to it, then she'd be asur l'bal. Right. So here we're assuming that she denied it. Even if she denies it, there's a rumor, right? There's a rumor because obviously she has all the reason to go ahead and deny it. Fine. Naya Mishnah. Mishnah says, Hamevi Gemet is a yom. Person brings a get from overseas, va'amar, and he says, so he says, it was written before me, right? It was signed before me. It was done properly. It was done lishma. He's testifying about the validity, right? About the validity of the get. La yisa es ishto. He should not, this guy should not marry the wife. La yisa es ishto. Since we are depending on him, right? He's the one witness, and he's bringing the get, right? So he's saying, so we don't trust him because he's saying, oh yeah, your husband, he's overseas, he's in Ukraine, and here's your get, right? So we don't go ahead and listen to him, right? I mean, we can listen to him, but you can't go ahead and marry this guy, right? He's trusted that way, but he's not trusted to go ahead and remarry this guy, right? Because he could be lying because he wants to marry her. If a single person comes and says, Mace, your husband's dead, haraktiv, or he says, I killed your husband, right? Or, you know, it's basically all telling her that she's now a single woman, right? Or hargnu, or they says, or he tells her we killed him. Lo yisas ishta, he should not go ahead and marry her. You can't, because once again, he's the one bringing the information to saying that she is now a single woman, and therefore he is not trusted to the. He's trusted to the point that she's single, but it's a little fishy if he's the one who testifies that she's single, and then he's the one who takes her into marriage.
You learn it from Bereshit, the Lots, the one that said about Lot. He went to Abraham because he wanted Abraham to go to war so he can marry.
Oh, I hear.
So,
How do you know?
So Rabbi Yehuda says, he argues, he says, no, wait, slow down. Haraktiv loitina say ishto. If Rabbi Yehuda says, if he says, I killed your husband, then loitina say ishto. Then can't marry, the wife cannot go ahead and marry. Hagudo tina say ishto. But if he says he was killed, then we listen to her. So what's Rabbi Yehuda saying? Even, right, even to somebody else, we don't listen to him. Why? Because he's Mesim Atzmo Russia. He's making himself a Russia. He's saying, I'm a murderer. So a murderer is not able to go ahead and testify in cases, right? So therefore, since he's saying, I am a murderer, right? Therefore, we don't listen to his testimony. It was like nobody testified that he's dead, and therefore the Charish is still a married woman until we have proof otherwise, or testimony otherwise. But we killed him. We'll soon see why he's believed he's not a Russia there. Then she can go ahead and marry. Fine. Zap the Gemara. The reason why in the first case, remember, the first case is where he brings a get and he says, hey, this is your get that was written in front of me in Ukraine. It was signed and then written in front of me. And now and you're a divorced woman. And by the way, will you marry me? So we say she can't go ahead and marry him. Marry him, not Miriam, the name, right? So we say, Tam to me, say Yam Diala Kazavchina. About Eretz Israel, the Labala Kazavchina, but in Eretz Israel, where there is no requirement for a person who's delivering a get, deliver get, say, right? But if we're not, in other words, he's not the one really testifying, it's the get that's testifying. So therefore, in Eretz Israel, he can go ahead and marry her even if he's the shliach. The Labala Kazavchina. But in the case of where he testifies that she's dead, right? We're not really depending on him. A woman, right? She doesn't go ahead and just marry if she hears that there's a rumor, but she'll check it out. She wants to make sure she's not a disease. Victani never says lo yisas ishto. So even though we're not depending on him, it says lo yisas ishto. So too over here, even if it comes to Eretz Israel, right? It should be no different. Lo yisas ishto. So God says no. Hasam like a kasava. Over there is nothing written. There is nothing written that says you're definitely divorced. So therefore, she's going to look in the manner. So over here, but you have a piece of paper. He's not doing anything. He's just bringing a paper from Eretz Yisrael, a get, right? And here's the testimony, right? The Tanai is going to mention ma ben get lamisa shaksav mochiach. What's the difference between a get and a misa, right? That a get is written. It's written testimony. Therefore, it has nothing to do with the information that was brought before us. So therefore, since there's nothing to do with the information brought before us, therefore, the shliach would be able to go ahead and marry the newly divorced woman, as opposed to a case of Mace that even though that she checks into the matter herself, nevertheless there is no written testimony that indeed that the guy is dead, and therefore she would not be able to marry the guy who brings the report that her husband is dead.
Is a death certificate worth anything in halacha?
A death certificate?
It was signed by generally signed.
Right. Yeah, I mean, let me say that that'll be the same case. Yeah, right. Because it's testimony, right? Yeah. Now, Mace, if the guy comes back and he says he's dead, or I killed him, or we killed him, he cannot go ahead and marry the woman. And then we said, right? And then we said, all Rabbi Yehuda argues. He says no, right? Rabbi Yehuda says that's not true, right? If he says I killed her, Actually, I killed him, right? Then she can't marry at all, right? Because because we don't even listen to his testimony. That was the Chor Rabbi Yehuda. Now, who knew the Laisa Zishta halachatinase? So it sounds like in this case that he can't go ahead and marry her. All these cases, Laisa Zishta, right? Laisa Zishta. However, it sounds like somebody else can, right? If he says I killed, or let's go in the case of where I killed him, right? Where he says I killed him. So she can't marry this guy, but she can marry somebody else. Somebody goes ahead and testifies with somebody else that says Bob, right? He violated me, right? He sodomized me, right, against my will. So him, even though he was involved in the Maisa, he was the victim, and somebody else can testify against the perpetrator. So plenty of Ravani see who be Achim is starving the heart.
The victim is one of them.
The victim in that case can say it. He's kosher. However, if he says L'Rtzaini, this guy, remember, one is Chayiv Misa, whether he forces, right, he sodomizes a man against his will, or even if it's willingly, right? It's still usher, right? So, however, he says L'Rtzaini, he says, okay, yeah, him and somebody else that testified against the person that he sodomized, me willingly.
And it's not so.
Russia. Right? You can't go ahead and basically have a Russia as a witness. And this guy is saying, right, he sodomized me willingly, I was a willing participant. So therefore, what does it mean?
What?
What?
So then
Two men. You go picture it. Two men. We're talking about two men, right? So he says, right? Right. Yeah. So he says, so if he testifies about it, right? So says Rav Yosef, this is Rav Yosef, you have to remember Shita. We don't listen to him. We don't listen to him. Why? Because he's a Russia. We don't listen to his testimony at all. We don't listen to anything. So in the case where a guy says, I killed your husband, you're a free woman, you're single. So the Mishnah says, according to the Rabbanan, she can't marry this guy, but she can marry somebody else. Well, wait, why are we listening to his testimony? He's a Rasha. But according to the Rabbanan,
No, maybe
so let's see.
Why he can do tshuva? He said, I'm sorry, whatever. I killed your husband.
Right.
Go marry somebody else.
But
in
his
the sense
testimony.
of tshuva.
So
If he say I want to marry you, then he's Russia. But if he say I killed you,
Right.
let's
see. Let's see that. Let's see. Well, you have a case similar to that. Let's see. So Tema Shani Edus Isha Diakil Rabbanon. And if you want to say maybe like this, in the case of Edus Isha, now we have another factor going on. The testimony of a woman. Now we are lenient when it comes to a married woman in terms of a guna, right? We don't want women, right, to be chained, to be a guna, not to be able to marry. So we're a bit lenient in those who can testify, right? In those cases. So maybe over here, maybe we'll listen to a Russian, right? Maybe we'll be more makil when it comes when it comes to a woman that we'll listen to this Russia. Ivan Ramanasha. So Ramanasha says on this point, to the page, Gazlan the Divrayim Kashli Edus Isha. If the guy is a Gazlan with the Rabbanon, in other words, he violates the Rabbanon, so then he's still okay for Edus Isha. However, Gazlan to Divrei Torah, but if he's a Gazlan with Divrei Torah, then Pasali Edus Isha. Then he's Pasali Edus Isha, and he's completely Pasal, right? If he does Deraisa, i.e., our case, he's killing, right? He killed somebody, right? That's Deraisa. So even according to Rabban Asha, we're not going to be nakil when it comes to the testimony of a woman.
Oh, because he's still alive.
Right, or he's just he committed a deraisa, right? He did a deraisa, and there's that.
So anyone who committed a deraisa is not kosher edus. That's what we're trying to say, which is a little intense.
It's very intense, right?
On Shabbos, I'm saying.
No, my mistake is different. No, my mistake is different, right? A person violates deraisas, right, knowingly and willingly. So then it puts an issue with his testimony. Yeah. So in this case, right? So in this case, he's trying to free a woman, but he committed a deraisa. So he should be pasal edus isha. So neighbor Rav Menashe, Damak Rabbi Yehuda. So let's say Rav Menashe says we don't believe him. It's like Rabbi Yehuda, right? That who held in the case of where he said, right? In the case of where he said, I killed him, like Tinase, like she can't go ahead and remarry. So Rav Menashe, Ana da Amri Afila Rabbanan. We can say like Rabbanan that really she could go ahead and maybe marry somebody else. But Tama de Rabbanan, Hacha. Because the Rav and the reason is like the Rabbanan is like Rava, Dama Rava, Adam Karav Eitzel Asav and Adam Esimatzma Rush. We have another factor here. The person is a relative to himself. And therefore, one cannot testify about a relative. And therefore, we don't believe the testimony on himself because he's a karov. And others, we have this concept of palgin and dibura. We divide his words. We say like this: we believe you when it comes to the fact that you said he was murdered. That we can believe you. We don't believe you because you're karov to yourself that you were the one that killed him. So in other words, we divide his words. Right. That which he says regarding the subject, the person he's murdered, you can go ahead and marry somebody else. But that which he says, you did it, we don't believe you, so therefore you're not making Russian, therefore your testimony is good, at least regarding that matter. And later Rav Yosef Rav Yehuda. So maybe Rav Yosef, right? Now Rav Yosef was said, someone pointed out here, right? I think it was Alan, right? So Rav Yosef earlier says we don't listen to him, right? So because he's a Rasha, and therefore, right, that was Rabbi Yehuda. So Lema Rav Yosef Damik Rabbi Yehuda. Rav Yosef I can say Rabbanan. The Shani Edesisha, that Kilo de Rabbanan. He would hold that no, but in the case of a woman, we're more makel. Rabbi Menashe Damik Rabbi Yehuda. And Rabbi Menashe says, oh, whoa, we are more makel by a woman, but it makes the difference of Deraisa to Rabbanan. That would be like Rabbi Yehuda. But according to Rav Yosef, you would not differentiate between two different isurim, whether it's Derabanan and Deraisa, and therefore he would say that when it comes to testimony on a woman, we're more makel, and therefore the Rabbanan permit her to marry somebody else. Fine. Two dots. So why? What's the difference? According to Rabbi Yehuda, if he says I killed him, we don't believe. But if he says that we killed him, we do believe him. And then she can marry somebody else. Some of you, I was with those who murdered him. I thought Tanya and Abraisa, Rabbi Yehuda, Kaputkaya. One time there was a Maisa with a certain thief that he was going out to be put to death for his crimes. In the case of, I guess, the crossings of Kaputkaya, the Amr Lahem, and he saw the rabbis, right? The guy was basically sort of doing tshuva. So he says, L'chu, Amru la le'eshes Shimon ben Cohen, go tell the wife of Shimon ben Cohen, ani haragti es balo. You cannot see Lulu. Go tell her, right, that I murdered her husband. I'm doing a nice thing, right, before you guys, they put me to death. By the way, go tell her that her husband is dead, and therefore she's not a married woman, and she can go ahead and marry somebody else. I murdered him when I entered into Lud. And some say and some say when Shimon ben Cohen entered Lud. And they married her off. Now she was allowed to go ahead and get married based on this testimony from this guy being put to death. So what do you see over here? That even somebody, right? So you see that somebody who was involved in killing, right? As long as it's with a group, right? We believe him. So he didn't say me and a bunch of others, we killed him. Rather, he says, I was with people when they killed him. So he wasn't making himself a Rasha. So Gemara says, I leased him. He says he's a burglar, right? So Shanit Basai de least to use. That means that he got in trouble for being a thief, right? For being a thief, and therefore he really wasn't a bad person. But he was a Russian, right? He's saying he's taken out to death. Obviously, he did something bad. He's on death row, right? Obviously, he did something wrong, right? Which they're putting to death for, and therefore he's a Russian. You shouldn't listen to it at all. So my answer no. Right now, the Beis Dins of the Gaisha cards, they didn't care as much about the details. Therefore, and economically, he could have been sentenced to death, even though he was just guilt by association, but he wasn't necessarily definitely in Russia, and therefore we do believe in that case his testimony regarding your husband. Fine. Now you must. Hachacham she'aser es ha'isha b'neder al bala. So Chacham, right? That she'aser. So he went ahead, and he says basically, woman, you have a nether and you can't get out of this nether. Whatever nether she made, right? She won't. Whatever certain nether that would come to a
benefit or pleasure from her.
Right. So no, she can't serve him in many different ways. So therefore, and then a chacham comes in and he says, "Sorry, lady, can't get you out of this." So the husband's gonna say, "Okay, I'm divorcing her." The chacham says, "Oh, convenient. You're a married woman. No, let's go get married." Right. So chacham says, "The isha b'neder al bala with the neder al bala harei zelisa." He's not allowed to go ahead and marry her. Why? Because really, the chacham is not. Why? Because we're concerned that perhaps he really could have. Exactly. He really could have mated her, but he told her, "Oh, sorry, you're stuck. You got to divorce her. Oh, you're free. Why will you marry me?" But if he says, "Miyano shechalsa b'fanav," if there's a girl, right, who performs miyun, or chalitza knows she was a minor and she performed miyun to reject the marriage that was set up by her older brother and her mother, or that she was married to a guy and one of the brothers is chalitza, and basically both these cases she's now a free woman to marry anybody she wants. If somebody testifies that in front of me, I was one of those, he's allowed to go ahead and marry her because he was part of the Beis Din that did it. There was a Beis Din that go ahead and approved of the miyun. There was a Beis Din that went ahead and approved of the chalitza, and he's testifying, yes, she was a chalitza, and now I'm marrying her. He's allowed to go ahead and marry her. So Gemara says, like the Gemara, but sounds like if he matered her nether, right, and nevertheless she got divorced, he can marry her. If we're talking about one person, how can one person be mater and nether? You need three before taras nadar, right? You got three people. So you're doing this, in this room every year. What are you gonna say, Betlasa? Okay, there were three people. He says, I was the one of three people. We matered her nether, but never she still got divorced. So michashidi.
He's making it just that it doesn't exist.
Right. Right. But in other words, what? Say it again.
You make it that it doesn't exist, that it wasn't a nether, that it never happened.
Right. So they're mater and nether, and then the husband died, and she was now single. So he says, but even in that case, so he says, but maybe okay, so it can't be one because it has to be done with three people. So he's part of three people. So even in the case of three people, right? Who says we're concerned that he's lying? Right, when he was one of three, the Mishnah says in the Sefer of Mishnah, right? If he was a member of three who matered her, so then he's believed because a person won't lie if he's with a group of three, right? Who's the other two people of the basin? So the answer is no. Like Rav Chizam, Rabbi Yechon said the name. Like Rav Chizam, the name Rabbi Yochanan, that is a special case of Ataras Nadarim. If the Yachid, if the individual is a mumcha, is an expert, then he's allowed to go ahead and be mater the nether on his own. So over here we're talking about where he's the Yachid mumcha who has the ability to mater or not to mater her nether. Fine. And then we said, so Tam the base, the reason is because of basin. Oh, betray low. But if there's only two people, if there's not three, right? You wouldn't be able to. What's this? The time we learned the Mishnah, if witnesses, they signed on the star, there was a sale of Al Get Isha, right? Or they signed up on the Get Isha, right? In other words, if he is a witness, one of the witnesses want to marry her, they can go ahead and marry her. Maybe he was lying because there was somebody else involved. So even with two people, we're not chayshesh, right? We're not concerned the person's lying or made up, fabricating a story, right? One person we are, but him as somebody else, whether he testified to somebody else about a sale of a field and he can go ahead and buy it, or whether he testified about a woman who got divorced, his signatures on the document. Well, one is bad, but two is okay. So why does why is the Mishnah teach three? Right? Beis Din should be two. So Gemara says no. He no. We'll have to exclude the opinion that holds that miyun when a woman goes ahead or a girl, right, when she gets to the age of 12 or 12 and a half, and she wants to go ahead and she's not happy with being married to the person that she's married off by her mother or her older brother, then she can do miyun. That does not need to be done. That is not done b'fanish. Shnayim kamashlan miyun begimel. Who comes to teach us that miyun is done with three people. Iboilu kanos mahu sheyaysi. So this guy, right? Let's say he says, "Up, can't be mati or nether." Sorry, and then so she gets divorced, and then he marries her. Rav Kana Amar Kanas, so Maushiyetz. Rav Kana Amar Kanas Maitzi. If he marries her, you have to divorce her. Rav Ashi Amar Kanas in a Maitzi. No, if he divorces, if he married her, then the rabbi can go ahead and ain't a Maitzi. We don't force him to divorce her. So Tani La Rav Zute Debe Rav Papi Kadivri Aimer Kanas ain't a Maitzi. He taught, like the opinion who held that if he went ahead and married her, even though he wasn't supposed to, he does not have to divorce her. Some of the Rabbanan, Rav Ashi, the Rabbanan said, Rav Ashi, Gemara Svar. Was this a Gemara or Svar? No, did you indeed learn this? Were you taught this? Or is this more of a, your own logical answer? Samalo, Mas Nisani. Look at a Mishnah, the previous Mishnah we did yesterday. Hanitan. One is rumors about a man with a shivcha and then she was freed and became Jewish, or she converted. A person should not go ahead and marry her because there are rumors about him and this person. Now it just gives credence to that. But if he marries her, we don't force him to divorce her. So we don't force him to divorce. So he can stay with her. So in this case, if the chacham says, I can't mati you, sorry, you're going to have to get divorced, and she gets divorced, and he's not supposed to marry, but he marries her, and it might see. So Alma, what do you see from there? Mayor, turn the page, right? Right? So, right? In other words, because of rumors, right? We don't go ahead and divorce. No, it's just rumors. Maybe the guy he could have been matir, but he didn't. So just like over there, it's just rumors. We don't go ahead. There's rumors that he was with a woman when she was up as chavim, never she converted. Okay, so you can stay with her. Rumors is not a bad thing. We don't force divorce because the rumors. So over here, there's rumors about this rabbi. It was a bit shady. Doesn't make a difference. All right, we'll stop here. Everybody. Have a wonderful